How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me, as usual, is Leonard. This is a show about wrestling. And excuse me, this week we are going to be bringing you another one of our random match reviews. And it was chosen this time by Leonard. So, Leonard, why don't you tell us a little bit about the match you chose?
Sure. So, shortly before the time of this recording, Lanny Poffo had passed away. And Lanny, of course, is the brother of Randy Savage and was the son of Angelo Poffo. And I always remembered hearing about a very famous match that Lanny was one of the few people to get a win, even though it was by countout, over Hulk Hogan. So that's the match that we're going to watch today: Hulk Hogan versus the genius Lanny Poffo for the WWF World Heavyweight title from Saturday night's Main Event 24 on November 25th of 1989. That was the broadcast date. It was taped, I believe, about a month before. Commentary is Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura. When Lanny came into the WWF, which was at the same time as his brother, he was a face, and he would write poems that he would write on Frisbees and throw those out to the fans. At this point, he was working more as a manager for Mr. Perfect, but was still wrestling here and there. Now, this match is actually on YouTube, a few different videos. They're all about 13 minutes long. You can also, of course, find this episode of Saturday Night's Main Event on the Peacock network under the WWE banner. And the one video that I watched, it has for the pre-match promos from Poffo and Hogan, which includes Poffo doing a poem about Hogan. And then we get Hogan doing early Steiner math because he says the 3 demandments plus the 24-inch pythons plus all the Hulkamaniacs means that the genius can't mathematically win.
Yeah.
So the match itself, I'm going to say I think it tells a pretty good story. Is it a great wrestling match? No, but I like the story that it tells. Poffo starts off by offering a left-handed handshake. Then they trade hands back and forth, and Hogan points to his head to say that he's too smart for Poffo. Lanny then stretches and prancing around the ring, and Poffo is playing it very effeminately. And It's a lot of McMahon saying, "Oh, I've never seen someone do that," in a wrestling ring. Lock up. Hogan shoves Poffo straight to the floor to a big pop. Hogan applauds Poffo, flipping backwards back into the ring. You really get a sense for Poffo's athleticism in this match. He is doing stuff at this time period that no one else is really doing. And I don't think I would see people really doing until the early 90s, guys like Brad Armstrong and Brian Pillman in the NWA. Poffo gets shoved down and kips up with a flourish. The story here, as Jesse Ventura gets over on commentary, is that it's brains versus brawn. You've got basically a macho dude versus a quote-unquote gay dude. Poffo avoids a big boot.
Jesse does a good job of making the genius look like a credible threat.
Yes, he does an excellent job of building him up. And that's why Jesse and was such a really good commentator, even though he would play heel. And of course, he's building the heel here. He always gave everyone credit.
Yeah.
When it was due, I think. Poffo avoids a big boot by going to the outside, and he starts writing on a scroll how to beat Hulk Hogan. And it's a mathematical equation that it says equals Hulk down, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Genius celebrates an arm drag like he just won the Super Bowl. Poffo backs Hogan to the corner and bitch slaps Hogan in the face. Poffo runs off while getting the referee in the middle. Hogan stands back, watches Poffo prance. Hogan then explodes a series of clotheslines, slams Poffo's head into the turnbuckle, back elbow in the corner, and Hogan mocks the prancing. Atomic drop. Hogan mocks Poffo's selling, back suplex, elbow drop, boot rake to the eyes, which is classic Hogan. Hogan does the punch count in the corner, and at this point, Curt Hennig comes out to ringside. He steals the WWF title belt and puts chewing gum on it. He says that's not a perfect champion, and this isn't a perfect belt. Hogan then confronts Hogan on the outside, or Hogan confronts Hennig, I should say, on the outside. Poffo drop kicks Hogan from behind. He hits the ring post. Poffo slams Hogan into the ring post. Hogan tries to get back in, but Poffo stomps him from the inside. Poffo punches Hogan on the inside, and Poffo gets a step-up moonsault, which was a holy crap moment for me,
Right.
considering this is 89. But that leads to a Hulk up. Poffo is crapping himself. Big boot, right to the eyes, and then the back. Hogan fights back with eye rakes and back rakes. Poffo gets punched to the floor. Hennig tends to him. Hogan goes out and pulls him off. And Hogan rolls Poffo back in the ring, but Hennig nails Hogan with the championship belt, leading Poffo to win by countout because supposedly the referee was counting the entire time.
Right.
But if he was counting the entire time, how come he didn't see the belt shot? Because you think he would be looking the entire time. So I think the count is wonky.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Hogan chases the heels off and they leave with the title belt. And before we mention what happens next, your thoughts on the match?
So yeah, I mean, the match, like you said, the match did a good job of playing to the Genius's strengths, and it kind of really, conveying what that character brings to the table, be it head games or athleticism. And like I said, Jesse did a good job of building it up, and I thought that he and Hogan had a good match that kind of mixed actual wrestling with comedy. And in this era, I mean, you would start to see it more with like Doink and whatnot, but like in this era, it was kind of straightforward when it came to Hogan's matches, especially. Like it was just, they were very formulaic and you stuck to that formula. And it says a lot that, they had the Genius win here, even though it is by countout, because in this era, Hogan didn't lose very much. So I liked that part of it. I thought that was interesting. And I'm sure these guys had a bunch of other matches on house shows and whatnot.
Yes, and on the next Saturday's main event right after this one, it would be Hogan and Warrior against Genius and Hennig in a tag match.
Okay, yeah. And by the way, I really liked the team of Genius with Perfect. I thought that those two worked well together as far as manager, wrestler, and obviously Papa would wrestle every once in a while. But I thought that they made a good team in that way. So yeah, I mean, I thought that this match was fun. It made it more interesting that it was a count out loss for Hogan. And yeah, I mean, looking back, at the way they were portraying the Genius character, the effeminate ways, mm-hmm. It is what it is. But I think that nonetheless, you can see what type of athlete he was, and that's all that matters. So I thought that the match was entertaining for what it was. I don't know that a match like this, it would be hard to tack on a star rating. But like, I think that it was very entertaining for what it was. And if I was watching on a Saturday night, I would be happy. So,
yeah, especially if, that they were really catering to kids that got to stay up late. That's why Hogan's matches were usually first or second on the shows.
Right.
And one thing to mention from what you were saying is that Ventura mentions this on commentary. Hogan usually goes against much bigger guys. Poffo is one of the smaller wrestlers that he would go up against. And yeah, I didn't even think about a star rating. If I had to, I would maybe go 2.5 to 2 3/4, because as you said, it's a really great mix of the characters and of comedy and actual wrestling, and it was something way different than you would see from Hogan at the time, and it was part of this bigger storyline, and it was part of a feud that Hogan was having with Hennig at the time, although I don't believe there was ever a huge blow-off match.
Unfortunately not. Yeah, no. I mean, I think the biggest part of that feud was the Rumble, which they ended together. Hogan won, but yeah, unfortunately, you see, that's what I mean. I don't think Hogan nor Vince was really big on, having him go up against small guys for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't think it was much of a threat, but I think that this match at least shows that I think he could have worked with small guys and made the matches pretty good.
In some alternate universe, it might have been Curt Hennig beating Hogan at WrestleMania 6.
Yeah. Wouldn't that have been fun?
Yeah, yeah. That maybe we can rebook WrestleMania 6 at some point.
Yeah, we should.
And it should be mentioned this leads to a segment backstage where the genius is doing his poetry and cackling, and Hennig is smashing the title belt with a hammer.
Right.
And the rumor was always that this was the belt that became the hardcore title in 1998. That is not true.
Yeah, that's a myth that got spread.
And I tried to find the reason for this, and I couldn't find it, but I thought I remember reading at some point it was just the fact that they didn't like the way it looked, or the plate was not either too small or too big or something, and they had a new title made that was very similar,
Right.
but there was still something where they wanted to, I guess, explain the change, why it was a similar but different looking belt, and that's where this came from. And Hogan gets a really good promo after this too, where he kind of says, the belt doesn't really matter. What matters is he's coming after Hennig, he's coming after Poffo. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I'm trying to remember. I feel like I either listened to a podcast or watched a show or something where they talked about trying to find the pieces of that belt somewhere. I forget where I heard that. But those parts of that belt are out there in the ether somewhere.
Yeah, I did find that it went to, and I can't remember the man's name now, the ring announcer.
Yeah.
There was a ring announcer. I can't remember his name, but I guess he had it at one point and then wound up selling it.
Right.
In the late 90s, I believe, because I meant to write that, because I found that I meant to write it down and I didn't write it down. But that information is out there, like who had it immediately, like who took it that night, I guess, was this ring announcer.
Well, yeah. So, like I said, let us know what you think of this match and this angle, because I think it could have been a lot more than what it was, especially with regard to Mr. Perfect. But let us know in the comments what you thought, and make sure to check out our full-length episodes, our segment surgery videos, our stupid question videos. We're available wherever you can find podcasts. And for Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.